What's up, and welcome back, my precious little pack, to VEGA Conflict. So, the decimation is coming to a close tomorrow, and this video will actually be unedited. I'm not going to put anything on it just to get it out as quickly as possible. I do this from now on with all the VEGA videos so that they can be uploaded as quickly as possible. But the goal of this is actually to list off something. And no, it's nothing in-game, I actually have something to say. What value does this game we all play hold for me? Well, let's think about all the positive aspects of the game and compare them to the negative aspects, of which there are many, to see why I play the game still, but say I cannot under any circumstances recommend it to anyone. Let's get started. A few positive aspects of the game are its aesthetic appeal. The lower tier ships look well made and actually feature on-model firing points, unlike most or some of the higher tier ships that fire from around the relative front of the ship. The lower tier is also more rewarding to skillful commanders because lower tier fleets tend not to have unfair. Lower tier NPC fleets tend to have primarily fair firing ranges and damage in some cases, which have become, well, actually, let's see here. The lower tier is also more rewarding to skillful commanders because lower tier fleets tend to not have unfair firing ranges and damage, which have become a mainstay focus in higher tier NPC fleets. Wait, was that all for the positive aspects? Well, let me know if I missed anything or if you guys actually have any more, because I actually couldn't think of too many positive aspects aside from low tier play. And now for the more negative aspects of the game. This is going to be a long list, and even I know that. Let's get started anyways. First and foremost, repair times are terribly balanced across the tiers, and I wouldn't advise anyone to pay for their repairs at all, especially in the later tiers when you see 16-hour repair time or more for any fleet, and you have multiple fleets to do that, just because that would be around 330 coins per repair, and you may lose that fleet multiple times a day. That $15 roughly, if you lose it 5 times, you'd be able to effectively turn that into a meal. You could literally buy any cheap old game that's actually better. I could recommend Total Annihilation, Command & Conquer. Literally, just jump on Origin, jump on Steam, jump on any of them and just find a better game. And that is per time you repair the fleet for it being fully destroyed. Another largely debated and hated aspect of the game, inconsistent build times for the power of those ships that are built of the lower tiers. They just can't stack up in any way in comparison to the tier 6 or 7 fleets, and in the case of the Demon Corps, either them as well, which also have greatly increased combat ability, as most of us know by now. Another aspect I have talked about before is the utter lack of communication between the remaining player base and the current development team, which only further extends the gaps in the game that make the game undesirable for many players alike. Harassment. It runs rampant in the form of tyrants, a marauder hull that is actually easily obtainable just by getting blood amber, so anybody can become a little harasser just by simply saving up blood amber from daily missions and buying a tyrant, the missile special for it, and missiles. That's it. It'll take you around 2 months to do it. The next one is verbal insults or slurs, pop-ups in base sales, which I actually closed one right after I logged in, again because they just pop up and they're just not welcome, because if you're like me and you're trying to go in and out of your base a lot to do something, and every time you go jump back into your base for any reason whatsoever, you get a pop-up. Yes, they do get annoying, and the fact that they have a banner is more than enough, and I'm referring to the banner that actually typically pops up over here. I already closed it by just going like this. How you can get the banners to go away is just close both of them in rapid succession, or click any of them in rapid succession, not left click, right click, and it'll just go away. Okay. bugs, bugs, and more bugs. Visual bugs, auditory bugs, and game disrupting bugs. Kixeye just calls them disconnects, but I call it a bug because of how frequently it happens to the users. Disconnects are one thing because they should be a rare happening, and the fact that Kixeye typically says it's most likely your internet, there are certain people that I can guarantee have superior internet to the company that supplies the game. And they're saying it's the person's internet. $5 says that person pays $200-300 for their internet, and it is superior in every possible way. Another is that too many NPC buffs and not enough nerfs or efforts to balance the game out. It just kind of goes in the favor of you coin, you win. You don't coin, you lose. Or in my case, I just don't care about my repair times. I'll break my fleets over and over again, and I'll just repair, I'll just log out. Okay, I'm going to stop myself here before I actually list everything wrong with the game. I could do that in another video. And go on to another aspect I just thought of. How many members are in the development team? I feel as if it is far too understaffed to actually maintain the game in any form, and I think that is due to the fact that more and more bugs show up in the game with each update and not enough are fixed. So either the development team there is just not caring, as a lot of people believe, or they're extremely understaffed and there is nearly nobody who's actually qualified to code the game actually there to code the game. And if I were to try and compare it to anything, I took coding classes, and I can honestly say that I had bugs in my coding, but I worked them out. There were still bugs. And the thing I produced was a simple text-based game. It was extremely simple and extremely simplistic. It was extremely easy to use for anybody. There's no way you could make a mistake for it. Now, let's take a look at Kixeye's game. This should be produced by a highly trained team of developers. And what do we get? We get bugs like this. These are all cutter cores, because we can see they're cutter cores just because of this. Battleship cores. Bugs like that should not happen in any game produced by any company. They should take some time and effort to actually make the game look good, play good, and feel good. VEGA Conflict is in no way good in any possible meaning of the word, unless you think about the low tiers. If you think about low tier combat, low tier play, low tier things like that, then yes, the game is good, it is enjoyable, it is fun. But when you get into the higher, later tiers, you rapidly lose that entertainment value because you play less and less, and you also get a less and less. How would I put this? You effectively lose your money's worth. Because you can build low tier fleets that have very cheap repair times, and I've actually built 1 coin ships just because I could. And I did that because I produce 5 coins a day thanks to my commerce module, which again is another aspect that they took away from free players. If you fought hard enough during Civil Wars, you could get enough to buy a commerce module. Now, what would the commerce module do? It was a little $3 item, and it would produce only a few cents per day, but as it's upgraded, it produces more and more, up to a $25 limit. Now, the amount that has to be spent to upgrade it is stupidly absurd, and I, again, cannot support any spending in the game because of how it is. The game's focus is too much on if you spend, you win, and not enough on if you're a skillful strategist from any previous game, StarCraft, Command & Conquer, Total Annihilation, Imperium Galactica, any number of games. Halo Wars, if you literally came from any RTS game, you came to this game for no reason whatsoever. You probably just saw an ad about it, which I've never seen an ad for the game. You just take my advice and just leave. If you're not going to devote your time to the game, save your money, don't think about coining, just leave. Because it's not worth it in its current state. Now, if its current state changes, I'll be more than happy to recommend the game. But as it stands right now, build times are unbalanced, repair times are unbalanced, The game is generally unbalanced. It's typically in favor of if you spend coins. Now, there's a few ways and a few things we can actually do to fight it. Let's see what... Alright, the brigades, let's show you what I'm doing. And I'll show you just how unbalanced this is. Alright, this is an 89 fleet, that's an 80 fleet. If we go up against a level 80 player fleet, depending on the fleet, if it's not all bastions, I should be able to very easily kill them with just this one bastion, correct? Because we've all seen how overpowered the bastion is. So let's just take a moment to fight one of these 80s. I'm going to show you how I do it. And we're going to take a look at the repair time right after. Now, I typically hit 2 to 4 of them per attack, and I literally just wipe my own fleet out on them. I'm not going to do this here. I'm going to just use this as an example of how improperly balanced the game is. Now, one thing I do have to say. A few of my ships in the fleet are underfitted, as you all know, because I prefer quantity over quality in my ships. And this will also allow me to point out the aesthetic, like I said, of their firing arcs, their firing launch points actually, not actually being on the ships, but kind of being around them or in front of them. Now, the reason I chose a box formation for my cruisers was simply just because it will only allow certain ships to be hit, and that's the box formation I was talking about that ensures that AoE from certain ships will not hit you, or hit all of them. Now, these ships pierce through each ship, so you're going to be hit quite a bit, but you can easily go into their blind spot. And in the case of the battleship, blind spot is the rear of the ship. The game, as you can see, my carrier's been hit a bit. It doesn't have that much shielding. I'm using a top shield for it, but the repair time value of that shield is highly undesirable, especially because it can be destroyed so easily in combat. I could use a recharging shield, but the vast majority of the time I honestly don't care if the carrier dies, because the vast majority of the time there's one ship that will always be undamaged, and that'll be the top tier ship that I have. Now, the top tier ship I have is, and most likely always will be, a tier 7 or a tier 8, or whatever their tiers happen to be. And the fact that we can make a judgment now about tier 8, and we're still in tier 7, it's fairly easy. We can say the following. It's going to be overpowered. It's going to be highly repair time efficient. It's most likely going to be extremely broken, and just literally subdivide everything that the player base does. And yes, subdivide as in everything you do will be divided into equivalent parts. Such as, let's say you want to farm. Well, now you have to do PvP because you got hit by somebody. Now you're repairing and now you can't farm, but you still have a secondary fleet. Now you have to choose, do you want to take the secondary fleet out? Don't. Just don't. Don't subdivide yourself like that, and don't allow anybody else to take more of your fleets. This is actually a pretty good attack. Okay, this was a poor example for what I said. First off, what I meant by the imbalanced was that if you fight certain tiers with certain tiers, you'll lose every time. And yes, that is true. If you fight against tier 7 with tier 3, you're going to lose, and it's just because of how overpowered and different they are. I can take my single bastion and it'll come out at around level 68 when I'm fully done. When I'm fully finished fitting it. That means I can take it into combat against Demon Core fleets, Iron Star fleets, and potentially VSEC fleets, which is VEGA Security. And I can bully and harass them, and there's nothing they could do to stop me, because the moment they break the bastion shield, it will immediately gain its monstrously long range, massive shield bypass, and even more monstrous damage. And this just furthers the point of that I've made towards the beginning of the video, improper balancing in the game. Now, I don't support the game. As we all know, I don't coin, I don't do anything, because a game that I coin or spend money in will have to be a very impressive game for me to actually do that. VEGA Conflict is far from an impressive game in my eyes.
Awaiting orders.
But I'll do a full video on the decimation tomorrow for my final thoughts and things like that. But if you have anything to say or support any of what I've stated in this video, feel free to say so below. If you have any questions about my builds, on my ships, my fittings, things like that, if you have any questions about the base, if you have any questions about certain weapons or items, ask below in the comments section and I'll get back to you as quickly as I can. Or if somebody else can, I hope that some of the veteran players actually pay attention to the channel and they can help you out below as well. But my way to advance is always through repair time and then just not caring. And I do apologize about this being the only video so far, since I said StarCraft and Ark would be the final videos of the week, with Vega being sparse for the most part. But that's going to be it for this video, everybody. If you liked the video, feel free to leave a like, comment, subscribe for more daily content. Well, kind of every other week content. And as always, everybody, I'll see you later.